Want to have your very own free-range egg farming business? Welcome to Green Grass Egg Farming Podcast with Daniel O'Brien, the show dedicated to giving you the latest tips, ideas and interviews to help you produce the best tasting free-range eggs and sell your eggs for the highest price. And here's your host, Daniel O'Brien.
Hello, Daniel O'Brien here. Welcome back to Greengrass Egg Farming. My special guest today is Charlie Roberts from Charcoal Springs. Welcome to the call today.
G'day, Daniel. It's great to be aboard.
Excellent. Today we're going to be talking about, or you're going to be talking about, the Nestbox training. So basically when you get new birds in, they need to learn the ropes, what to do, what not to do, and how we go through that training process so you have a successful outcome, you've minimised ground eggs, and you've just got a smooth transition for them to use the system effectively. But in your words, do you want to sort of describe what is Nestbox training?
Nestbox training is where we buy in birds at point of lay of 18 weeks, just before they start to lay eggs, or approximately around that age. And they've never been off the ground coming from the hatcheries. So one, we have to teach them how to perch, and then secondly, how to lay eggs in the nest box.
Okay, so they've been on the ground because, like, in their growing sheds in the hatchery, they're just pretty well on like a sawdust floor. They're not sort of like a day-old chicken doesn't roost, so basically they just put them in from day-old up to sort of 18 weeks just in a big barn. So they come in. So explain to me, so your birds arrive. Talk me through how the birds arrive and what happens, like from when the truck or the ute sort of drives in the driveway to like those first sort of maybe 12 or 24 hours, what you do there.
Primarily when the truck arrives, the first one is perch training. Initial one is to get them used to the trailer. So when the truck arrives with his cages, we put the chooks, the hens, straight into the trailer from the cages, close the trailer down, and we'll leave them in the trailer for about an hour to 2 hours whilst we take the trailer out to the paddock where we're going to set it up in the cell. If the weather's cool enough, we'll leave them in there for about 2 hours, and then we'll open it up, open the trailer up and let them out so they know that that's their base and that's their home. They'll go out and fossick around, graze around for an hour or two, and just on dark we will come back and then walk around the trailer to keep them moving. So they'll actually hop back into the trailer. If you keep them moving, you may only have to pick up 3 or 4, maybe 6 hens and put them into the trailer that first night. And then they all perch up for that night. They're birds of habit. So if you can teach them, first time show them, second time they'll observe, third time they'll pick it up. And then once they've picked it up, they'll continue to keep doing that. And that goes into the nest box, laying the eggs in the nest box as well.
So when you're walking around because they're likely to like want to sit down on the grass and sort of sit there for the night, opposed to going in the trailer?
That's correct, Daniel. They'll do what they normally do in the sheds, and they actually swarm, almost like a swarm of bees. They'll huddle together on the ground. If you keep walking and moving through the birds, it stops them from doing that. And a few will hop up into the trailer, the rest will observe, and then they'll start to figure out, well, oh, look, that's where we've got to go, and they'll head up onto the perches for the night. By keeping them moving, it's keeping them active and observing what's going on with the other birds.
Yeah, okay. So how long would you be walking around for? Is that something that's 10 minutes or 4 hours? What sort of time frame?
No, even 20 minutes to half an hour, just on dark.
Okay.
Normally when your birds are coming into roost, it's not a long exercise. If you observe your current trailer going as your birds come into roost at night, around that time.
Yeah, okay.
A general rule of thumb is 2 beers.
Okay. 2 beers. Note that down. 2 beers.
And it's done.
Okay. So that's the first night. So after they're all in, do you close down the shed that night, or you leave that open? What do you do that first night?
We have in the past. To do that, you've got to be back at daybreak to open the trailer up again to let them out.
Yeah.
At the moment, we are having luck with without closing the doors down. We do use lights. We run light systems in our trailers for the early layers in the mornings.
Yep.
So we actually turn those lights on, which assist them going into the trailer for that first night.
Yeah,
Once
right.
they're in the trailer, you flick the light off, and they're all happy days. Next morning, they'll hop out. The following night, you repeat the same process. You'll find by the third night, you'll have all but one of your birds in the trailer.
Okay, and then by fourth night, you don't even need to go out there, or
Don't even need to go there. Don't even need to go near the trailer.
okay, yeah,
It's all done.
3 nights. So I remember when I was first starting and seeing all these hens, and I probably wasn't walking around. I was probably just sort of standing there going, "Why are you all in a pile?" And then like picking up sort of a few hundred birds and put them in and go, "Oh my goodness, am I going to have to do this for the next year?" But that 3-night rule, it's true, and I've heard it from so many farmers. That first night, you're like, "Why don't you just go in? What's going on?"
Yeah.
And the second night, it's like maybe a quarter of them. Third night, it's like 2, 3, maybe as you said, 1, and fourth night, it's all over. But I remember thinking on the first night, like if someone told you, "Oh, by four nights this won't happen," you're like, "Nah, you're pulling my leg for sure."
Yeah.
But as you said, they're creatures of habit. That they just go, they sort of follow the leader, okay, and they're just like, "Yep, we're cool now. We're all sorted."
Yeah. The rule of 3 is a good rule of a good guide with any work to do with the birds at all, and that goes into nest boxing as well. If they lay an egg in a particular place, you generally have 3 lays before you have to break that habit.
Okay.
If you can break them in the 3 lays, which generally is 4 days.
Yep.
If you can break that habit in the 4 days for that particular bird, you'll have success.
Okay, so talk me through that. So now your birds, they've arrived, they've been there 4 days, so they're now perching up, They're taking themselves in and out. What do you do now to train them for the nesting boxes?
Depending on the time of the year, the season, during the winter they come on the lay slower, and the age of your birds when you purchase your birds. You'll then observe if they're starting to lay, they will squat. The birds will tell you they'll squat and stick their wings out as if they're preparing for a rooster. If they're not ready to lay, they will run. If you walk through your birds, if your birds are running from you, they're still not ready to lay. If they're starting to squat and put their wings out in front of you, they're ready and ready to start laying.
Yep.
Observe your percentages of birds doing this.
Yep.
Observe the same amount of birds. The ones that are going to start laying will also come around your legs and peck your legs.
Yep.
And be in close. The ones that are not laying will be out wide. It then comes to spending approximately 2 hours or 3 hours in the morning is by grabbing the birds that are starting to squat.
Yep.
And put them into the nesting boxes.
Okay.
And you do this once or twice. You don't have to do it to all the birds. A lot of them will pick it up by watching them and observing the other birds, and they will then understand where the nesting boxes are.
Okay, so if you're walking through the birds and a bird squats, you'll pick her up and then carry her over and put her into a nesting box.
Yes, generally walk around the outskirts of the trailer, so you don't have to walk too far.
Yep.
They'll come to you when they're ready to lay. Keeping close. You may only have to do a 20-minute session, half an hour session, but if the birds are not ready to lay, you can waste a lot of time and a lot of energy putting birds into the nesting boxes that aren't ready to lay, and they won't take note.
Yeah. Okay. So just because they're squatting, it doesn't mean they're like with their wings out, that they're not about to lay an egg now. They're just, I suppose, at the maturity where they're coming into the time to lay. Is that what you're referring to? That's correct. That's true and correct. There is a whole different position and stance for a hen that's about to lay an egg. It's a good one to observe, and it's a very good one to pick up and understand their habits of when they are going to lay an egg. Yes, so just to clarify, when you're putting them in the nest box, they're not sitting in there for the next 20 minutes and laying an egg. You're just putting them in there just so they know that that's a cool place to go. Is that right?
Absolutely. You're showing them that there is a nook and a cranny.
Yep.
Or a nice place to lay an egg. They'll observe it. They will hop out after a couple of minutes. If the bird comes flying out of the box, she's not ready.
Okay.
And they'll come out and observe and come back down onto the ground, but they do take note.
Yeah.
They do go back.
Yep. So you've just done a little mental thing in the chook's head of like, here's a cool spot. When you do want to lay an egg, she'll be like, oh, I remember that.
Yep.
And go back there. And that's what you want to create.
Absolutely. Most importantly is your nooks and crannies. If you have anywhere, whether it be on your feeders, around your drink bowls, under your trailer is an absolute classic example. If you create a cool dark place, they will lay their eggs there. So if you can minimise anywhere around your trailer, whether it be under the trailer or around your feeders, your nooks and crannies,
yep,
and create just the nesting box for laying, you'll have great success.
Yep. Yeah, righto. So the note there, make out of everywhere the chooks can go, make the nesting box the most comfortable place.
The most. Yep.
And they'll go back there. If they find a more comfortable place under the trailer or behind the feeder,
under feeders,
they'll learn that they'd rather lay eggs there. And a good thing to remember, I remember seeing some farms, like your best case scenario, if you've got a movable shed, you're out in a paddock with nothing. I remember a case where we were moving the fences along and the caravans, and in this particular cell, like it was a 50 by 50 metre cell, there was one tree, and under that tree was an old rusted bit of implement. It was probably something from the 50s, like that would go behind a horse or something, maybe even earlier. And it wasn't very big, but I think it was like the discs on this plough, it created nice little shadows and almost like little hidey holes. And the birds were just coming in, and I didn't even think anything of it. I'm just like, we're moving them through in the square across the paddock. Oh, well, that day there was like 60 to maybe 160 eggs around this thing, and I'm like, oh, my goodness.
Absolutely.
And exactly that. They've come in and gone, this spot right here looks awesome to lay eggs. So if you're starting and you're moving your hens through a paddock, avoid areas that might have like a lot of long grass or a little gully or something where they can get in and under. I remember one farm out western New South Wales that a tree had fallen over and there was still a lot of foliage on it. Oh, the chooks loved it. They sort of got in there and laid eggs. Now with movable electric fencing, if we just went around that, no drama. But at the time when you didn't know, you're like, why have I got like 100 eggs under this thing? And it's exactly that. They found a nook and cranny that was a little bit more comfortable than the nesting box, and they're like, that's where we're going to lay our egg.
Absolutely. Even the long grass.
Yes.
Short grass for nestbox training for pullets is the ideal.
Yeah.
Even grass up to a foot long, and they'll be happy to lay eggs in it.
Mm.
So if you remove all the nooks and crannies, we've had great success with keeping our doors open, completely open, to create a lot of light to stop them laying on the mesh on the trailer. Okay. Which they can. If we found if we close the doors down, the birds would lay on the mesh of the trailer.
Yes.
And the eggs would go through the mesh and break on the floor. With the doors open completely, they go straight up to the nest box.
Yes. And I think what people need to remember, when the chooks are first laying, this is brand new for them. Like they're just learning, okay, I lay an egg each day. What do I do with this egg? So they may not want to lay it on the mesh, but they're still learning to go, okay, this is a dark spot. I guess I lay it here. But as you said, if that chook had been put in the nest box a couple of times, she's like, hey, I don't need to lay on the mesh. There's a beautiful, dark, secure, safe nest box. I'll jump up there, lay my egg.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, under the trailer, do you screen off under your trailer so they can't get under there when they first come on the lay, or how do you manage that?
Absolutely. We make a I've heard of many different ideas. We've found what works for us is we've made a skirt with shade cloth.
Okay.
Which is doubled up, and it has the wood perch battens, the same as them, down on the bottom, so it's like a weighted right on ground level. And we use S-hooks, made up some wire S-hooks, which hook up to the mesh on the bottom of the trailer.
Yep, okay.
So there's nowhere for the birds to go under the trailer.
Yep.
Only for the time the nest boxing is on. Once the nest boxing is completed and we're happy, we remove the skirt.
Yeah, so you're referring to like the nest box training, so those first few weeks, is that right?
A few weeks, absolutely. Especially during the summer, you do need that under the trailer for shade area.
Yes.
So you'll need to get the skirt off as quick as you can, but don't do it too early, otherwise the chooks will start laying under there again.
Fantastic. So what have you found from doing this versus not doing this? So if someone's like, oh, should I worry about it? Is it worth doing? Like, it sounds like a bit of effort. Tell me your experience on that, Charlie.
We first started, we out of 450 birds, we had 37 laying on the ground. This is while still doing it. Now we've cut our hours down considerably per trailer. Now we're down to approximately 30 hours spent on nest box training.
Yep.
Through knowledge. And we're now down to 1 to 2 birds per trailer will lay on the ground.
Yep. So we're talking out of 450 hens.
150 birds. Yes, you'll have 1 to 2 that lay on the ground.
Yep, right.
Yes, I do. I do recommend it highly. It's worth the hours. The more hours you do on it, the more observation you make, the better you get at it. Every business model is different. With our business model here, we have chosen not to sell any eggs off the ground. Why? Is because we employ labour, and we cannot guarantee with our staff if they pick an egg up off the ground, is it one that's been out in the sun? Has it been there for 2 days, 3 days? And we can't guarantee to our markets or our restaurants that this is a premium quality egg if we don't know the quality of the egg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the 30-odd hours for nest box training and to get all of your hens laying in the nest box is the optimum. That's the ultimate.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And when you look at it from, say, 30 hens down to, say, 1 hen, just so people realise that that's every day. So when you go, oh, it's only 30 eggs, but that's every day. And if they're 30 eggs that you either can't sell or you have to sell at a reduced price or pay money to put them through a machine to wash them or such, that's every day.
Yeah.
Where if you spend the time up front, those 30 hours, and get it down to just 1 egg a day per trailer, now you're looking... Yeah, it's only going to be 7 eggs a week. And that's, you can eat them yourself. You don't need to sort of worry about sort of buying a $10,000 egg washing machine.
No.
So
absolutely. And that makes a big difference in your profit margin. You still have to move the birds if they're laying an egg that you can't sell or at a reduced price. It's still the same amount of labour.
Yes. Yeah.
And effort to produce that egg that's at a reduced price.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It is worth putting in that effort, and just to schedule it in when your birds come on, to know that like you've got it down to the hours, to know that there's 30 hours spent doing that. And I know Shane and Marnie Ellis from Gippsland Free Range in Victoria, they say the same thing. You put that energy in to start with, it makes your job so much easier, not for a week or a month, but for the next year that they lay, because suddenly they're trained, they're perching, you can move them along, it's done.
Yes.
It pays off, opposed to going, oh, no, I won't worry about it. And then for the next year, as we said earlier, they're creatures of habit. They're going to go back to, oh, where have I always laid my egg? I've laid under the trailer or near the feeder or some other random spot, and then you're spending labour trying to find it and collect it. And as you said, was it in the sun? Was it in the mud? Like, is it even like legal to sell? Like, we don't. you don't have the traceability on it, opposed to wind in the conveyor belt and have clean eggs right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are tricks, Daniel, as you get, it doesn't have to be every morning. Like I said, there are birds of habit. So if you were to spend a couple of hours this morning, you could leave them for 2 days.
Yep.
Or if there were some hens laying on the ground tomorrow morning, you would get them in the next morning. You would catch those ones by observation.
Yeah.
And catch them. You observe them going to lay an egg or looking for a nook and cranny, whether it be around the drink bowls or under the feeders. That's through observation. You would catch that bird as she just before she lays her egg on the ground or in her nook and cranny, and you catch her and you go and put her in the nesting box. We've found through this technique that you only have to put them in once, maybe twice for that particular bird, and she'll go there every time thereafter.
Yeah.
How we know which bird it is every time you catch a bird that's about to lay an egg in a nook and cranny, we put a little ring on a leg.
Okay.
And then when we go back to the trailer the following day, we know if we see a bird with a ring on its leg, we'll walk past her, we catch her, and put her in the nesting box.
Yep.
And that identifies her as your ground layer.
Yep.
And if you observe her in the nesting box laying an egg on her own accord, you take the ring off.
Okay.
And it identifies your birds that you need to work with.
So do you
minimises you having... Sorry, Daniel?
Do you do that on every single flock? Or just when you...
Mm-hmm.
So on every single flock, identify the birds and put the rings on when you're putting them up in the box, and when you've seen them laying in the box, remove those rings?
No, we only use the rings for identifying ground layers.
Okay, righto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Nestbox training purposes.
So what do you do? And I think I know the answer. So if you're picking up the same bird with a ring so many times, what happens to her?
She becomes accustomed to the fact that that's her job, to lay an egg up in the nesting box.
Yep.
Then right at the end of your Nestbox training, prior to saying your Nestbox is complete, normally when you're around your 85 or 90%, you're near on full lay with your flock.
Yep.
You go over right on daybreak when the nesting box is open, and you spend a couple of hours. It takes 2 mornings to complete, and every bird that you see with a ring on its leg that's in the nesting box laying an egg, you take the ring off.
Yeah, okay.
And you should work your way down to only having 1 bird or maybe 2 birds completely that have rings left on their legs.
Yep. And with those 2 birds, do you leave them in the flock or do you remove them out of the flock?
We remove them and on-sell them as pullets, where you still get your premium price for.
Okay, so someone can buy a hen. They're probably going to have it in their backyard and a total different farming system. So they're getting good eggs. You're selling her on. So you've actually completed the whole process, and now you're getting like no ground eggs because you've eliminated the 1 or 2 that were laying on the ground.
Yes, completed. You still get a random egg.
Yep.
There is a random egg.
Yeah, whether she just didn't make it on time or...
yeah, or not sure what the pain in the bum was, you always seem to have a random egg.
Yes.
It's something we believe is part and parcel of having hens.
Yeah, so there's probably two at that stage, there's probably 2 type of ground eggs. You've got one which is the same chook, the one with the leg band. She just... For whatever reason, she decided nest boxes aren't for her. Rain, hail or shine, she's going to lay it on the ground. We've got rid of her. The other type of ground egg is just, it's a random chook, we believe. It could be, it's a different chook each day that just didn't make it in time or decided not to go to the nesting box that day.
Absolutely. The random egg will be identified because it won't be in the same place every time you see it.
Yep, okay.
If it's an egg you find in the same place every time, you will know it's a particular ground layer that you need to work on.
Okay.
Or remove.
So if you do find it in the same place each time, would you recommend the next day wait, see what hen goes there, grab her, put a leg band on to identify her and go from there?
Absolutely. And when you put a leg band on, you put her up into the nesting box.
Yep.
And she will lay that egg that she's about to lay in the nesting box. And you will only have to do that once at the absolute outside twice, and that hen will then go there up into the nesting box for the rest of her laying time. Okay.
Oh, excellent. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit from getting hens in from the truck arriving to getting them up on the perches. We've talked about closing the trailer up for 2 hours, let them out to forage after that, walk around the trailer. So if they're swarming, clumping up, so they don't get settled and they jump up into the trailer, do that for 1, 2, 3 nights, and the 4th night you can have off. How long does that take? 2 beers. And then when it comes to Nestbox training, we screen off underneath, and any birds that we see when you walk past, they sort of squat down with their wings out, pick them up, put them in the nest box. And if you see an egg sort of squatting to lay an egg, pick her up as well and put in the nest box. And any that you do pick up and put in, we put leg bands on. And then after they're all laying, any that are in the nest box, we remove the leg bands. And we shouldn't have any ground eggs. Was there anything I missed out?
I think you've done very well, Daniel.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Charlie. You tell me about, you run workshops from time to time. So people want to get started in free range egg farming, or they've already got chooks and an egg farm and they want to learn more. Tell me quickly about the workshops that you run on your farm there.
Absolutely, Daniel. We're set up to do a course in getting started in pastured egg farming, and the workshop is based on covering such points as the Nestbox training, marketing pastured eggs and how to market them as a premium product, biosecurity, paddock planning on how to plan up your farm as such, and your models. It covers all the basic topics that information that you will need and require to get you up and started, all the little tricks and things that we've learned along the ways, right from packing in the shed, little tricks, right through to collection in the paddocks. So it's a very condensed one-day course, but it will give you everything that you need to get you started.
Yeah, and I wish I had access to that when I first started. I know I made heaps of mistakes, and if I could just go do a TAFE course or do a field day on someone's farm where they're really doing it, it would have saved me thousands of dollars, because as you probably know as well, there's little things which you just overlook or you didn't know, and if someone could just go, hey, don't do it like that, like exactly what we've shared today about Nestbox training, like if you know that up front, and you're not picking up all the ground eggs over a year, like that can be thousands of dollars worth. So I highly recommend anyone to get the training to get the tips to have a successful and profitable egg farm. So
absolutely, Daniel. Our philosophy is we can save you 20 man hours in your business at $25 a man hour. There's $500. There's the course paid for in 20 man hours alone, and we believe we can save you 20 man hours in a matter of 10 minutes, of course.
Yeah.
Through little tricks and things, hard learnings from our hard learnings. So I wish we had something like that when we started too. So recommend it.
And tell me quickly, you do run these courses from time to time. They are at your farm. Tell me, we didn't cover it to start with, tell me a bit about your farm and where you're located.
We're located in the southwest of Western Australia at Manjimup. Currently own 100 acres and lease another 85-acre farm. We're running 2,500 birds at the moment with 5 trailers, and also building up our cattle numbers as well. up to 30 breeders. We'll go up to approximately 80 breeders. So we're doing a lot of sustainable farming style through paddock rotations, strip grazing and sustainable farming through cattle and chook rotations.
Yeah, and do you have a bit of an orchard there as well?
We do. We have 1,200 fruit trees, Tahitian limes and finger limes that we've got up and growing as well.
Yeah, okay. So for anyone that wants to get started in egg farming, whether you've got an orchard or you've got cattle or you just got land, I'd highly recommend you get along to one of the courses. So if someone's flying into Perth, how far are you south of Perth, Charlie?
We're 3 hours drive south of Perth,
Okay.
down in the Southern Forest region.
Okay, no worries. So for more information, can they just go to your website and find out when the next course is coming up?
Absolutely, or feel free to get our contact details off the website and give us a call.
Yep, that works.
Or
Is that
email.
charcoalsprings.com.au?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, or just an email and we'll get back to you with all the details.
No worries. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Charlie.
Our pleasure.
And I look forward to doing another podcast together of another helpful tip for everyone.
Not a problem. It would be our pleasure to share our information and our knowledge.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Green Grass Egg Farming Podcast. For transcripts and other free resources, please go to greengrasseggfarming.com.